This is the warning.
Free speech is foundational. It is elemental to the American way of life. Without free speech, no other freedom is possible. It is the foundation of conscience, the right to believe what you believe is right, and the right to apply it, to speak it, to shout it from the rooftop. Every society that has ever tried to control the people, that has sought to stifle freedom, has done so by making information illegal, by criminalizing laughter. In occupied France, having a radio that could be tuned to the BBC was a death penalty offense. Imagine living in a pit of blackness, darkness, where it is impossible to know that there is light at all, let alone what direction is up or down or left or right, what is real, what is not, only darkness. Books, knowledge, scientific inquiry, rock and roll, all of it is utterly dependent on the freedom of speech. And the freedom of speech at the core is the foundation of the great American faith. And our faith is liberty. There is something that must be said. I will defend the right to the death, if necessary, of my fiercest opponent to speak out with regard to what it is that they believe. But it must also be said that a great many of those opponents would happily see me and people like me silenced or put up against the wall, maybe, to keep us from saying out loud that we must be free. And no compromise is possible with regards to these issues. And the pronouncements of political lackeys like Brandon Carr, a preening, officious, out-of-control bureaucrat. How dare he try to prescribe what it is that in America we're allowed to laugh at to gain favor with his boss at Mar-a-Lago. Understand that Brandon Carr, a weakling, is a little Eichmann. And in Trump's autocratic Mar-a-Lago system of government, there is a line of sycophants in single file, and each of them has in their hand a knife for the back in front of them. And all of them have eyes in the back of their heads for the knife in the hand behind them by their treacherous rivals, all of them competing to move forward a step, a chair in the Mar-a-Lago Squid Games, to move ever closer to Trump. So maybe someday you can be like Lindsay Halligan and appointed to a prosecutor's office for a few years before your inevitable disbarment over the abuse of your power. And that's what we are seeing. And that's what we are watching. Abuses of power and abuses of the American people. And when it came to the United Nations yesterday, the abuse of an escalator by one of Trump's many cameramen, rising the dictator's ascent up the escalator that he would go on to denounce as one of his most fearsome foes.
Well, there was some concerning reporting over the weekend from the London Times, as you pointed out, that UN globalist staffers were basically plotting to set up the president of the United States. And first it was the escalator, then it was the teleprompter, and then Katie Pavlich from Town Hall, who we offered a seat in the press pool to cover the president's historic speech today, noticed that the audio inside of the room was much lower and different different for the president of the United States than the previous speaker. So when you put all of this together, it doesn't look like a coincidence to me. And I know that we have people, including the United States Secret Service, who are looking into this to try to get to the bottom of it. And if we find that these were UN staffers who were purposefully trying to literally trip up the president and the first lady of the United States, well, there better be accountability for those people. And I will personally see to it, Jesse.
Good.
And so it was that Donald appeared before the United Nations, and Donald Trump delivered his message and disgraced his country. When you think about what's happening, one need look no further than the last 100 hours. Donald Trump's announcement of his hatreds.
He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent, and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erica. But now Erica can talk to me and the whole group, and maybe they can convince me that that's not right, but I can't stand my opponent.
And what a job they did on Jimmy Kimmel, summarizing his position on Tylenol, with the goofball Robert Kennedy standing behind him. Donald Trump, before the United Nations, was a crude exposition in the worst of the American character. There he stood alongside his rotten wife, the ugly Americans. She, the ice-cold, plasticized Slovenian, and he, the orange-tinted Nero, the rottenest couple in the history of America to hold a position of responsibility and power in front of the world, disgracing the oldest republic, the creation of Washington and Adams and Jefferson and Hamilton and Lafayette and so many more, defiling it with each breath. And there they were, the lowest of the low, the most rotten fruit ever born by the American tree of liberty. Their lies spewed forth, and the world's leaders sat silent. What needed to be said? What could be said? In the end, Donald Trump demands that we bow to him. And for many of us, our conscience says never. And it instructs us to speak out and to denounce him and his sick and twisted ideas that are un-American. And no matter what he says, no matter if Kristi Noem labels that position terrorism, no matter what any Trump thug declares, no matter what jackboot or how many he seeks to bring down, there is nothing that can take away my right as an American to speak out against him and them and this. Not now, not tomorrow, not yesterday, not ever. And that is something that we should be deeply grateful for. Because even though we have that right, it doesn't mean they won't try to take it away. But they can't, and they won't. And the attempt will be their undoing. And today, that is the warning for MAGA. Free speech in America is not at your whim, and it is not up for debate.
I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning. I invite you to join this community where I promise to be honest, blunt, and direct about what is happening in this country. America is in crisis. Follow and subscribe to this channel and on Substack. Thank you.